What's up, guys? It's the Benchwarmers, and in this video, we'll predict the Chiefs versus Bengals matchup. So, starting off with an overview of the Bengals, they're 10 and 7, and they're the 4 seed right now, and they've been playing well throughout the whole season. And I feel like everyone knew they were going to be a good team by the middle of the season, but no one really expected them to be a solid playoff contender. But now look where the Bengals are. So, ESPN ranks them the number 13 offense by yards per game. And I feel like this isn't as good as the Bengals actually are. But when you dive into their actual team, you'll see that they have so much talent. So starting with Joe Burrow, the former first overall pick, he is definitely a top 10 QB in the league, and he is top 10 in passing yards and top 10 in passing touchdowns. Also, the Bengals have arguably the best wide receiver trio in the league. They have generational talent Jamar Chase, who's put up 1,400 yards as a rookie. They have T. Higgins, who also put up 1,000 yards. And they also have Tyler Boyd, who's been a really solid receiver for the past few years. But other than that, I don't think their offense is really good. I mean, they do have Joe Mixon, but I don't think he's an exceptional player. He's definitely a solid player, though. And when you look at their O-line, you can tell that's where things start to fall apart. They allowed 51 sacks during the regular season. And actually, just last week versus the Titans, they allowed Joe Burrow to be sacked 9 times. Now, looking at their defense, ESPN ranks them the number 17 defense. So they're middle of the run. They're not terrible, but they're not amazing either. They have some solid talent with guys like Trey Hendrickson and Jesse Bates. But I'm a little bit concerned about their secondary and how they can stop a team like the Chiefs, who pose a threat for rushing at the D-line. So they have guys like MAHOMES, who's been a pretty big threat, even Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and passing-wise too, guys like Tyreek, Kelsey, and Hardman. But last few games, their defense has been pretty good. They held the Titans and Raiders, 2 pretty solid offenses, to under 20 points. But right now, I'm just worried about the Chiefs because even though they beat the Chiefs in Week 17, the Chiefs were still able to put up 31 points. But overall, the Bengals are a pretty solid team, and we're excited to see how they play the Chiefs tomorrow.
Yeah, on the other hand, we have the Chiefs, who, unlike the Bengals, everyone expected to be a Super Bowl contender from week 1. And basically in the regular season, they proved why they should be. They had a very strong 12-5 record, even though they had a slow start where they lost 4 of their first 7 games, which is really just due to the defense not really being up to par. But they finished the season 9-1. The defense got it together and played at a pretty average level, which is honestly enough considering how strong their offense is. So in terms of both yards and points per game, the Chiefs were top 5 in the league this season, with the passing offense just being electric with that trio of Mahomes, Tyreek, and Kelsey. And then they kind of switched to a committee backfield, which was a little different from what they have done in years past, which definitely I think helped improve the rushing offense a little bit. Even though it's still not great, it's definitely better than it has been before. And then on defense, obviously, as I previously mentioned, they were really not very good at the beginning of the season, but they managed to get it together during the second half of the season. The D-line has been pretty good. And then throughout the rest of the defense, they have kind of okay players who get the job done. But it's not an amazing defense, but it's good enough. So in the playoffs so far, they had a very easy match against the Steelers in the wild card. They beat them pretty easily with the offense just proving that they're one of the best in the league. And then last week, they beat the Bills in a thriller of a game. Honestly, arguably one of the best postseason games of all time. And the offense is great as always, but the defense definitely looked very, very shaky, especially towards the end of the game. The secondary gave up a lot of big plays, and it really showed that the Chiefs are kind of vulnerable against very strong offenses like the Bengals they're playing this week.
Yeah, I totally agree. And now, just to go over some narratives or some common narratives that people are saying for the game, I think one important one is if the Bengals secondary can hold up. And I think Andrew and I hinted at this a little earlier. Awuzie actually in Week 17 only held Tyreek to 30 yards, which is really impressive. And in that game overall, he had 40 yards. So the Bengals secondary is actually really good on that game. And if you don't count that 150-yard play to McCole Hardman, the Chiefs actually had only around 200 passing yards. So I would say that the Bengals secondary definitely did their job. Travis Kelce only had 25 yards in that game as well. So some might say that the Bengals got lucky, and others will say that the Bengals secondary is legit. I personally think that the Bengals secondary, it's pretty solid, but I don't think it's going to hold up very well this time against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will probably get around 300 passing yards or so. Actually, just last week against the Bills, who are regarded as the number one defense in the league, the Chiefs, I guess including overtime as well, they put up 370 passing yards. Tyreek had like 150 passing yards. Kelce had around 100 yards too. So I would say that even against the Bills, I think the Chiefs are getting very serious, and I think this is really where the Chiefs have an opportunity to do well. But if the Bengals can stop the Chiefs if the Bengals can stop the Chiefs wide receivers, I think the Chiefs really don't have a great passing attack. So if the Bengals secondary can do their job, then I think the Bengals will definitely have a great shot at winning a game. So I think this will be a very important thing for the Bengals to look out for.
Yeah, then kind of on the opposite side, another important question is can the Chiefs cover deep? Because last week against the Bills, they gave up a ton of huge plays due to blown coverage. And that's really because overall and the secondary in general is just pretty weak. When you look at players besides Tyrann Mathieu, you have Juan Thornhill at the other safety position, who is somewhat of a liability in that showed last week. And then their corners aren't great as well. I mean, they have L'Jarius Sneed, but they also literally have DeAndre Baker. So you know your secondary isn't very good when you have DeAndre Baker on it. Um, and just they're playing a team in the Bengals that are known for deep plays. I mean, throughout the season, Burrow was just launching throws like 40 yards downfield to all three of their amazing receivers, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins. So it'll be interesting to see whether the Chiefs secondary can hold up against the deep plays.
And now getting into some predictions, I have the Chiefs winning 31-24. I think I'd put it at around a 60-40 for the Chiefs winning. Definitely wouldn't discount the Bengals out of this one yet because the Bengals are also a really great contender. But I personally have more faith in the Chiefs offense than the Bengals offense. And I think the offense is really where both teams shine. I think the Bengals have really great young players like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. And the Chiefs' offense has been consistently going deep into the playoffs for the last few years. But like we saw last week, I think Mahomes will always find some way to win games, even in the most unthinkable situation. And it's not just Mahomes, honestly. It's guys like Tyreek, who's a little speed demon. He caught a ball in the middle of the field, and then he just so fast, he just outran like 5 defenders and scored a touchdown with less than 1 minute to go. And also Kelce, who apparently they actually winged the play. Kelce just said, "Pass me the ball. I'll just randomly run down the field for that one final play before regulation in the Bills game." And that's what happened. Kelce just randomly ran down the field. That was the play call, and they were able to score. So I think the Chiefs just have so many good guys on their offense, not just Mahomes. I think that's going to be the ultimate X factor in this game, but don't count the Bengals out of this one.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Rohan here. I think it's going to be a slightly more high-scoring game. I have the Chiefs winning 35-31. I think both passing offenses are going to have big games. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be very consistent, getting out good throws kind of within 15 yards, and that'll be what makes the Chiefs successful. And then the Bengals, I think, will kind of be the opposite. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to have like a 80-90% passing completion percentage, but as long as he gets just a few like huge plays, that'll be enough to give the Bengals a very strong offense on the day. But overall, I just think what gives the Chiefs the slight advantage here is the home field and also just the experience. The Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl the last 2 years in a row. I think they're going to make it again. The Bengals, I mean, you just never really see a team go from complete trash to a Super Bowl winner even a Super Bowl contender and make that big of a leap in 1 year. I think they'll get there eventually. I think they're going to be a very strong powerhouse for probably the next decade, but I just don't think they're quite ready yet to make the Super Bowl. So that wraps it up for our predictions for this Bengals versus Chiefs AFC Conference Championship game. Let us know whether you agree or disagree with our prediction in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. This is the Benchwarmers, and we're signing out. See ya.